It's strange how we look at celebrities and quickly assume their lives must be perfect. We see the lights, the fame, the interviews, the money, the beautiful premieres, and we convince ourselves they must be living some kind of dream life. But Johnny Depp's story shows the opposite. His journey is one of the most heartbreaking, complicated, and inspiring stories Hollywood has ever seen, and it reminds us that behind every famous face, there is a very real human being who has lived through things most people can't imagine. If you've been watching all the drama, the headlines, the reactions, or all the chaos around Johnny Depp, you're definitely not alone. The truth behind his life goes far deeper than the rumors, the memes, and the internet jokes. And today, we're not just talking about the controversies, or the moments the world saw, but the hidden layers, the tragic real-life story that shaped him, broke him, and then pushed him into one of the most powerful redemption arcs anyone has ever witnessed. Johnny's story starts long before the fame, long before Captain Jack Sparrow, and long before he became one of the most recognizable faces in the world. It starts in a house where fear was normal. Johnny didn't grow up in a warm, peaceful home. In fact, he once said coming home felt like walking into a storm. His mother was unpredictable, sometimes violent, and the energy in the house changed from moment to moment. For a child, that kind of environment doesn't disappear when you grow up. It becomes a part of you. And for Johnny, it shaped everything that came after. He learned how to hide pain, how to keep emotions quiet, and how to escape into his imagination. That escape eventually became music. Before acting, before the movies, before Hollywood ever noticed him, Johnny only wanted to be a musician. Music was the one place where things finally made sense, the one thing that made him feel free. He slept on friends' couches. He survived on almost nothing. He spent nights just practicing, writing, and dreaming of making it big in the music world. But life had a different plan. A friend pushed him to attend an audition, something he didn't even want to do. And somehow, through the chaos of that moment, Johnny Depp's acting career began. Nightmare on Elm Street put him on the map, and suddenly, he was in a world he never planned to enter. Fame came fast. Too fast. And when fame arrives before you're ready for it, it doesn't feel like a blessing. It feels like a monster you can't control. Directors wanted him to be the pretty boy. Fans started chasing him everywhere. Photographers flashed cameras in his face every time he stepped outside. There was pressure from studios, pressure from interviews, pressure from fans, and pressure from the entire world. And for someone who grew up holding everything inside, fame only made the pain louder. So he did what many young stars do, he tried to escape. First with alcohol. Then with drugs. Then back to alcohol. It was a cycle that repeated over and over again. The pain, the numbness, the guilt, and then the pain again. Johnny has always been a deeply emotional person. He loves intensely. He feels intensely. That intensity makes him a brilliant actor, but it also makes life harder. And when someone like that enters Hollywood, a world full of temporary love, untrustworthy people, fast friendships, and even faster betrayals, it's easy to fall apart. Johnny went through messy relationships, complicated breakups, and public drama that the media turned into entertainment. The world loved to talk about him, but very few people understood him. The worst part is that some of the deepest betrayals in his life happened in public, with cameras recording his pain. But despite all that, he never once used his childhood or his trauma as an excuse. He carried his pain quietly, trying to protect the people around him even when he was hurting the most. Then came a point when Hollywood seemed to turn its back on him. Projects were cancelled. Studios dropped him. People who once cheered for him suddenly disappeared. Imagine working hard for more than 35 years, creating iconic roles, shaping entire generations of movie memories, only to have your name questioned because of headlines. That moment was one of the lowest in Johnny's life. He said once that the thing that hurt the most wasn't losing a movie, it was feeling like strangers believed the worst version of him without ever knowing who he truly was. But this is also where Johnny showed the world who he really is. Around the time his mother passed away, she told him something he never forgot: fight for your name. Those words stayed with him. And in a way, they became the fuel for the hardest chapter of his life. Experts who study celebrities under pressure say that people like Johnny, the sensitive, artistic, emotional ones, don't survive chaos through strength alone. They survive by going back to their art. That's exactly what he did. When everything was falling apart around him, he turned to the things that brought him peace. He went back to painting. He went back to music. He surrounded himself with the people who actually cared for him, not the ones who only wanted him when life was good. Slowly, he rebuilt himself. Then came the trial that shook the whole internet. Millions of people watched it live every single day. And suddenly, the world saw a different side of Johnny, not the Hollywood star, but the human being. The funny, gentle, emotional, quiet, respectful version of him that Hollywood had hidden for decades. People laughed with him. They cried with him. They empathized with him. For many fans, that trial wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about seeing the real Johnny Depp, the man behind the characters, the man behind the headlines, the man whose pain finally had a voice. And when he walked out of that courtroom, his redemption wasn't just legal. It was emotional. It was personal. And it was powerful. After that, Johnny started doing what he loved again. He returned to music with passion. He finished art projects he had been delaying for years. He signed new films. He traveled the world, met fans, performed on stage, and smiled again, something people hadn't seen from him in a long time. But here's the twist that most people still don't know. People close to Johnny say he now follows one simple rule. A rule he repeats whenever he's deciding whether to say yes to something. He says, if it doesn't honor my peace, my art, or my people, I'm not doing it. That sentence says everything about the man Johnny Depp has become. After a lifetime of pain, pressure, and judgment, he finally learned the value of peace. The value of choosing himself. The value of protecting his heart. Johnny Depp's story is tragic, but it's also inspiring. It reminds us that no matter how broken someone becomes, there is always a path back to yourself. His life shows that strength isn't about never falling, it's about rising after the hardest falls. Johnny's journey proves that even when the world pushes you to the ground, even when your name is questioned, and even when you feel completely alone, you can still rebuild piece by piece. Sometimes the rebuilding is slow. Sometimes it feels impossible. But his story shows that it can be done. He went through storms that would have destroyed most people. He faced betrayal, trauma, addiction, heartbreak, and judgment at a level very few humans ever experience. Imagine millions of strangers debating your character, your choices, your truth. Imagine waking up every day wondering what the world will say next. Yet through all of that, Johnny discovered something powerful: the world can take everything from you, except who you truly are. And that is the heart of his redemption. He didn't rebuild his life through anger. He didn't rebuild it through revenge. He rebuilt it through art, through honesty, through the quiet moments that helped him remember what mattered. He relearned what peace feels like. He rediscovered the joy of painting, of music, of being surrounded by people who genuinely cared about him. He found comfort in creativity, strength in vulnerability, and healing in allowing himself to simply be human again. Johnny's story reveals a truth many people forget: healing doesn't come from fame, or money, or massive success. Those things don't fill the emptiness inside. He realized that healing begins when you understand yourself, your wounds, your patterns, your passions. Healing begins when you choose to protect your peace instead of chasing approval. It begins when you finally stop trying to be who the world wants you to be, and instead start reconnecting with who you really are. And the most beautiful part is this: through all the darkness, the pain, the noise, he discovered who stayed. The people who stood beside him. The people who believed him. The people who didn't disappear when things got messy. Those are the people who helped him rise again. Johnny Depp's life reminds us that no matter how lost you feel, no matter how heavy your past is, there is always a way back to the light, if you're willing to walk toward it, even one small step at a time. Now, after hearing this entire journey, the highs, the lows, the heartbreak, and the comeback, I want to hear from you. Which part of Johnny's story touched you the most? Was it his childhood struggles? His rise to fame? His fall from Hollywood? Or his emotional comeback that inspired millions? Share your thoughts, because so many fans out there relate to his story more than they admit. And if you enjoyed this narration and want to dive deeper into other untold celebrity stories, you can check out my other videos that explore more emotional moments from Johnny's life, more behind-the-scenes stories, and more of the hidden details Hollywood doesn't always talk about. And if you haven't already, feel free to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. No pressure at all, just if you want to stay connected with the most real, meaningful celebrity stories online. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.